Hello, everyone who's waiting. Apologies for the delay. We are now getting started. It's been a while since I've done a stream, but as some of you might know, I was away recently, so I missed a bit of the Dalek chaos. So I thought I'd just do this stream to kind of catch up on any of the news I missed, and also catch up with you guys. I don't know why, but my chat doesn't seem to be loading. I can see that there's 9 of you in here. So if you can see this and you can hear me, just put something in chat so I know you're about, because I can't really tell. Hang on, I'm going to get the stream up on a separate thing. You may hear me for a second, my apologies, but it may be worth me just checking. Ooh. Wait for the advert. Oh, there we go. There we go. I can see you on the other screen. For some reason, it's not showing you guys on my screen, so I'm going to have to look at the other screen for this, which, not great, but functional, I suppose. I'm going to turn that down. Oh no, my desktop audio is off, so you won't hear me anyway. That's alright. Right, I'll mute that. There we go. Okay, I can hear you all. I can see you all now, so let's have a look. See who's in the chat. Scaroium Hunter, Ryan Hu, Ben, The Mighty Ginger, The Lone Cyber Bloke. I love that name. That's a great name. King Creator, Planet Adam, Barney Quinn, sorry about that. Dino posting stuff, Atomize, and Dan Medic Man. Have I got everyone? Did I say Ben already? I think I did. So yeah, the basic purpose of this stream is just to go over the news that I missed, because apparently I can't go away for a day without something happening. Go figure, right? So yeah, there's also some figure stuff going on, so we may get into that a bit later, but yeah, let's just jump right into this. You know all the drill by now. I've got a skadoople of myself to the bottom of the screen. Oop. Right, hang on. Bear with. If I do that, and then I go whoop, and I go whoop, like that, and then we go like that, and then we go like that, and then there we go. Right, okay, so yeah, as you can see at the side there, I can't actually see any of you guys, so I've had to like have you guys open on a separate tab. So thanks YouTube for that. If you haven't already, please like the stream. I can see there's 40 of you here. Thank you for all showing up. But with that said, I guess let's just get right into the bloody news, shall we? First thing I want to talk about, I was going to make a whole video on this, but again, not really enough to do a video on. Camelot and Oz featured... that sounds like a bar. Camelot and Oz featured in 2 new Doctor Who mashup books. Now, I covered this in a separate video, but obviously, since then, the covers have been released, and I gotta say, these covers are chef's kiss. I love the fact that Missy is the Wicked Witch of the West in this version. I think that's a great idea. And I love the little Gallifreyan insignia on the 10th Doctor's armour here. I think that's really cool. So, yeah, let's give this a quick read. 2 new Doctor Who novels, Legend of Camelot and The Wonderful Doctor of Oz, will be available on 10th of June. Both perfect classic novels are released by Jacqueline Rayner. I'm not going to read their synopsises, because you can get them if you buy the product. But yeah, they look really cool, I will say. It is kind of interesting that it's once again a 10th Doctor kind of collaboration thing. I know it's a separate book, but obviously it is kind of weird that we still can't seemingly have a thing happen without the 10th Doctor getting somehow involved, but these look cool, and I may pick them up at some point. Probably not right away, as I imagine their price will probably drop in a few, like, weeks or months, maybe, because, like, books tend to get cheaper over time, so I might do that. But yeah, I definitely will pick this up at some stage or another. There's this Cult Box article which basically summarises the filming in Bristol recently, so I'm going to give that a quick read. I've covered a lot of the filming in separate videos, which, by the way, go watch if you haven't already. But just to go over it for anyone who wasn't aware, a Doctor Who film crew was busy filming Series 13 in Bristol on Thursday and Friday, June 3rd and June 4th. Doctor Who actors Mandip Gill, Jodie Whittaker and John Bishop were spotted at the filming base at Lloyd's Amphitheatre on June 3rd. Jodie's here, just saw her, and it's, yeah, like, so you've seen that post already. There's Mandip there, John Bishop, and then there was the cast was not photographed at the June 3rd filming location, which was at an unknown location nearby in Bristol. On June 4th, the filming location was discovered to be B. Bond Warehouse on Smeaton Avenue in Bristol. I apologise if I'm butchering words. Built in 1908, B. Bond Warehouse is a former bonded warehouse to serve Bristol Harbour. I didn't know that, so that's very interesting. Fans who went to the filming location were not able to see the cast and crew was filming there. We found the place, Lamau, and then there's the abandoned building, which we assume has something to do with the Daleks, I'm pretty sure. But Jodie Whittaker was once again spotted at Lloyd's Amphitheatre in a variant of her costume with a magenta shirt. This colour wasn't spotted in previous filming, which likely means in a new episode in a filming block, likely the final filming block, which will continue into July. I swear she wore that colour shirt in Series 12 at some point, but let me know. Mandip Gill and John Bishop also arrived at the base. Jodie and Mandip both at unit base, probably for hair and makeup, etc. I do find it weird. Like, I know that unit is just a word that they use for filming, so it might be nothing. I do find it weird, though, that they didn't really specify that when these were initially coming out. There's more just tweets, really. We've already covered, obviously, and I'm going to get into some of this later on. But yeah, that's basically a wrap-up of the filming itself. Smeaton, love that word. Yeah, it's a fun word. I didn't know how to say it, but there we go. Did I just see a Bradley Walsh pillow? Yes, you did. I think I'm getting targeted ads because of, you can see his Redbubble there. I think that's because of Curse Doctor Who shopping. They've seen me on Redbubble and they've gone, let's put some ads on for Doctor Who products. But yeah, let's get into the actual things. So we got some new footage of John Bishop, which I didn't actually show in my previous videos on these topics. So here's some nice HD John Bishop action for you. I assume it's HD. It's quite high definition by the looks of it to me, but yeah, there's some new John Bishop images. And this is interesting. According to Instagram stories, John and Melanie Bishop are on that cruise right now, so he's not just performing one night when the ship docks in Liverpool. He likely won't be available again for filming in June until the 11th at the earliest. Now, that's very interesting. Obviously, we spoke briefly about John Bishop not being available to film certain things in the future, and that definitely seems to be the case here. So, very interesting stuff. Obviously, I hope that it doesn't delay filming too much. I hope that they'd already accommodated for that. But yeah, so let's actually get into... Oh, actually, no, there is one more thing I want to talk about. John Barrowman has withdrawn from his lucrative pantomime commitments owing to the knock-on effect of lockdowns and the rescheduling of his concert tour. And now I think we all know what he really means by that. I think we all know that basically means that he got the slide because of what's been going on recently. If I refresh this live stream, will it crash? Because I want to be able to see this without having to constantly go back to my own video. But I get the feeling it's going to crash if I do that. Can anyone help me out? Buddy, I appreciate the grind, but don't spam self-promotion in the chat. Okay, so this is actually the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about. We've had confirmation, essentially, on top of the Nick Briggs thing and the Dalek operator. We've now seen a Dalek in the flesh being carried onto set, and we know for certain this is for Series 13 because obviously Time Fracture wrapped up filming a while ago. I'm still not convinced that the one that was for SFX wasn't for Series 13. I'm still somewhat over the belief that had something to do with Series 13 and not Time Fracture, because I think if they'd needed Daleks, they'd have got them already by that point, but it could have just been for Time Fracture. I don't know whether we ever got confirmation of that. But yeah, this is the entire image. Obviously, I think what's most interesting about this to me is that they cover up both the head section and the weapons sections. Now, that could mean nothing. These could very easily be the same bog standard Dalek designs, the Time War Dalek designs that we've had since about, 2005. So when this episode comes out, because I presume it's for the New Year special, then we will have had this design for 17 years, which is, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, the longest amount of time that a Dalek design has served on the show. I think the only one that comes close would be the Genesis Grey design, and even in that case, I feel like, when did Genesis come out? Because it was obviously in Genesis up till Remembrance, where obviously they fought the Imperial Daleks. So when did Genesis of the Daleks come out? Genesis of the Daleks. That came out. It began broadcast in 1975, and I know that Remembrance came out in 88, so that'll be about, 13 years? So I think it's 13, 14 years, so I think that these are now the longest serving of the entire different Dalek variants, which I've got to be honest, as much as I really like the Time War design, I'm kind of sick of seeing them at this stage. Like, the whole design philosophy around the Time War Daleks is that they're meant to symbolize war. You know, the bolting and the rivets and all that sort of stuff on these designs are meant to be battle ready. They're meant to be ready for war specific. Obviously, I know that the Daleks are always having wars, so it makes sense to have a casing that befits that. But obviously, I do think that it sort of diminishes the uniqueness of the Time War and of that period of the show if they're just going to be the consistent default Dalek design. The thing is, I feel like when I think of the Daleks for the different revival eras, when I think of the Moffat era Daleks, I think of the Paradigm, because they were, his Daleks. However poorly they were received, they had one main story and then several cameo appearances throughout the rest of his tenure. And when I think of Chibnall's Daleks, I'm probably going to think of the Defense Drone / Resolution style, where it's thinner. And I just feel like these guys have kind of just sort of lost any identity at this point, and I really hope that sooner rather than later we get a full-on new design. What I hope this could be, obviously I think, I'm almost 90% sure that this will be the conclusion to Chibnall's Dalek trilogy. So what I would really hope is that perhaps the one who survived, perhaps the one Defense Drone Dalek that survived, perhaps gets some, revenge ideas and decides, you know what, screw you guys, I'm going to entirely wipe out the Time War Daleks, or the Skaro Daleks, whatever you want to call them, and we get the new Defense Drones, or a new version of the Defense Drones as the default, because I'm just really sick of the Time War design, I can't lie. I know that it's a good design, but at the end of the day, you gotta move on at some point, it's been 17 years, and I just feel like it's... And as well, from an efficiency perspective, I believe that the Defense Drone ones, as well as the Resolution ones, are controlled like drones, via remote and stuff, whereas these guys still have to be operated by humans. So from an efficiency perspective, it kind of just makes sense for them to become the default going forward. But that tangent aside, I'm hoping that there's a new appendage on these and it's not just the sucker plunger combo. Not the sucker plunger, the whisk plunger combo that we're so used to. Obviously in Revolution they did have the claws, so that could be the case here. Maybe that is Chibnall trying to make these Daleks a bit more unique for his era, but for me it's not enough. I want more uniqueness, I want more of a flair to these guys. Now, and I don't know where I heard this, but apparently an American politician guy was spotted on the set of this filming, which to me would seemingly imply a Jack Robertson return, which I guess makes sense. Obviously, they did kind of leave it on a cliffhanger with Revolution, with obviously they see him on the TV and he basically is trying to make out that he was the hero the whole time. And Graham's like, can you believe that? And Ryan's like, yeah, and whatever. So it makes sense for him to come back. Although I do sort of agree with, if I go back onto the original tweet of this, which I was actually added in, because Go Doctor Who was the first one to make me aware of this, so thank you for that. I was I was notified of it yesterday by Jill while we were out together in Manchester the other day, which I'll probably show a picture from again at the end of the stream if you guys want that. But a lot of the comments, if you read them, I don't know whether you guys can see it from here because I know I crop. Actually, let me just check if you guys can see that. It's just the stream's a bit delayed for me, so I'm not going to be able to tell whether you guys can see that or not. But I'll just read some of them out. Can they stop bringing back the Daleks so often? They're becoming really boring after being called dangerous threats in the show so often and continuously showing up and getting their ass handed to them, especially in recent years. There's another one that's basically, let's see if I can find it. There is a video that came out basically parodying Doctor Who, and someone used that in the responses. The ending especially goes like this. It's basically the Daleks saying, "It's us again," on repeat. because they're always coming back. And I do agree. I think, I'm going to be honest, I'm almost certain that there is some sort of arrangement between the Terry Nation estate and the BBC where they have to come back at least once per series. Because whether the BBC want to call Resolution and Revolution part of Series 11 and 12 or not, obviously Resolution for some reason is included on the Series 12 DVD, which to me doesn't make any sense, because Series 11, Resolution acts as kind of a wrap-up to everything in Series 11, so it would make sense for it to be considered part of that. But regardless, it seems like they have to come back at least once per series as part of the arrangement. And I think the thing that confirmed that to me was probably Series 10, where they're just sort of there for no real reason other than to have a cameo, and it's obvious that Moffat didn't have any plans for them beyond that. So I'm almost certain that there is some sort of obligation that they have to be on screen at least once per series. Hence why the Chibnall approach of having them show up every New Year special was implemented. And to an extent, I do like that tradition. I do like the fact that the Daleks are treated as kind of the big event ones that you save for like New Year's and stuff. But I do also feel like it's time that we had a year, or a series, or I should say, because obviously sometimes they skip a year, where they're not involved, because I do think it would make it feel so much more special if they didn't show up for a couple of years, and then bam, they just show up in the middle of a story or something, and just really surprise everyone, because right now it's getting very, like, predictable at this point. And this kind of brings me on to, like, I think a larger point that I wanted to make about the Daleks, which is, and obviously, by the extension, the rest of Series 13, which is I'm kind of getting concerned for just, and I made an entire video about, like, my concerns for Series 13 a while back, but, like, seeing the Daleks return, and obviously, I know that I don't find it as bad with characters like Jack Robertson, because Jack Robertson is a Chibnall era sort of creation, so I don't feel as bad as that, but with the Daleks, the Sontarans, and the Weeping Angels coming back, for certain, like definite, we've seen them on set, and likelihood of Sacha Dhawan, given that we saw him and Mandip getting COVID tests together, as well as just the fact that he seemed like to escape at the end of Series 12, it seems like he's coming back and probably the Cybermaster's with him. I do get concerned that Series 13 is just going to be like a greatest hits kind of thing for Doctor Who rather than carving out much of its own unique identity. And that concerns me because we've got a new companion coming at the end of the day, and I feel as though what I'd like for the Chibnall era to do is have one like unique thing, one unique villain that I can come back to and say, that was pretty cool, I'd like to see that carried forward, because the only thing I can really say that about now, villain-wise, is his master, is Sacha Dhawan, and even then, the Master isn't a Chibnall era invention. He's been something that's been around for a long, long time, and I don't really feel like we have that many villains that the Chibnall era has that you could feasibly bring back. Like, I know they brought back Tim Shaw, but let's say a new showrunner comes along in a few years, is anyone going to be realistically craving a Tim Shaw return? The only ones I could see feasibly coming back would be the Kablam Men, but even then, they're not really villains in their own right as much as they are robots to be controlled by some other force, be it Kablam or be it another company. So I feel as though there is a limit to what you can do with what's been introduced so far, and I just feel like papering over those cracks by bringing back old villains constantly, you're going to make the series feel so much more derivative, and I just worry that Series 13 is going to be too derivative, and basically learn all the wrong lessons from Series 12, which is nostalgia works, and it gets fans engaged, where what they should learn is that, you know, if an idea is good and new, people will like it, but unfortunately, the problem is, I've said this before, if Series 11 had some really, like, good new villains, and really iconic stuff, like RTD level with, like, the Slitheen and the Ood, or, like, obviously, especially Moffat level with Weeping Angels and Silence, if you had one of those level villains where they just become series mainstays, I think we'd be happy. But the thing is, I can't really think of any, like, Chibnall era villain that would even come close to, like, the top four, which for me are Daleks, Cybermen, Weeping Angels, and the Master. obviously. And the fact that the Weeping Angels are in the top 3 is a credit to Moffat, who came up with those. But that's what I mean. We don't really have anything on that level for Chibnall. And I know that obviously RTD didn't create any of the top 4 either. But equally, I feel as though he contributed in a lot of smaller ways. But like, you know, obviously you've got things like the Slitheen, the Jadoon, obviously, and the Ood, you know, things that serve greater functions within the universe and can be used for decades to come, whereas I just don't feel like Chibnall's has contributed much himself to the mythos. And obviously, I guess you could argue that the Timeless Child is his contribution to the ongoing mythos, but that is kind of just Cartmel Master Plan, but slightly different. So, yeah, I do worry that it's going to be too derivative, and it's going to learn the lesson of nostalgia works when that's really not the lesson they should be learning. And if anything, it's kind of questionable that that's even true, given that, you know, Series 11 did so much better ratings-wise than Series 12. But let me know what you guys think, actually. I haven't checked in with you guys for a while, so I'll give your guys' comments a read. They need more original villains, less humanoid, bipedal creatures, more eerie, shapeless monsters. I agree. I absolutely agree. Obviously, I know we've got the we've got the guy in the mask, the guy in the black sort of mask, and the two aliens, one of them being like pink and the other being like a light blue. But I get the feeling that one of those, particularly the guy in the black mask, is going to be related to some former character or villain. Specifically, I just get the vibe that the guy in the black mask is going to be a Time Lord thing. Could be wrong on that, but just by the sort of golden stuff on his chest, I get the feeling that he's going to have something to do with the Time Lords. And with that, obviously, he's not going to be that unique to this era because he's going to be tied to a bigger villain. And obviously, yeah, we're getting those alien the twins or whatever. But again, you know, that's about it in terms of new villains. There's like 2 new villains to the already confirmed 3 returning villains and possibly 4 with the Master. So it is kind of, there's kind of an imbalance there. At least with Series 12, yes, Spyfall Part 1 and Part 2 had the Master, but at least to some extent, like, it was balanced out because you had the dregs. I know, to be fair, like, even though the the Skithra is technically a new villain. It is basically just Arachnos when you boil it down. But you at least had things like the Praxius. Actually, no, that's not really a villain either. They're just humans. Oh god, I swear I wasn't scripting this. But at least you had Zelin, I guess, as well. So there was a couple of things that were balancing it out. Whereas with this, it just feels like they've gone whole, you know, all out with old villains and old concepts. Apologies if you heard the dog bark, and obviously I can't do much about it. It's a puppy. It's a nightmare, but she's lovely. But yeah, like, I just feel as though they're going a bit too far with old stuff, in my opinion. But to be fair though, with the amount that they're sort of like committing to old villains, it makes me think even more that this series is designed to be like the Jodie Whittaker Last Stand type of deal, where you get all the old villains back, maybe some returning characters as well from the era, maybe like Graham and Ryan will have cameos or whatever, and then you see her out. To me, this seems like the gearing up for, like, you know, the 13th Doctor's Trenzalore type equivalent, basically. But let me know what you guys think in the comments there. Giant maggots. Wait, there wasn't any giant maggots in any recent episodes, was there? I don't know whether they'd be an interesting new concept. They'd be quite scary, but yeah. The Flood were very good as well. The Vashta Narada as well. Like, see, there's just so many things that, like, both RTD and Moffat created that were just so important to the universe that I just don't feel like Chibnall really matches that, in my opinion. Power of the Daleks is the best Dalek story, period. Every episode gets better. I've got to be honest, I tried to watch it back with the 2016 DVD release, and I wasn't the biggest fan. However, that could be down to the animation. So yeah. Also, I'll see if I can get the... I'm going to use Force Daleks' image, actually. because I saw him post this. So the two new figure sets that were leaked, seemingly, because I think we covered a figure leak in one of the previous videos. I think it might have been one of the news like roundup type videos, the same one about like time fracture and a possible Bradley Walsh return. But the two that have been confirmed and like have like sets are the Sensorites, with the First Doctor, and another History of the Daleks set, which is, I think, a Third Doctor one for Day of the Daleks. Oh, actually, you can see there, Day of the Daleks. So those are the two new ones that like have been announced. I've said this before, I'll say it again, I really don't understand why they're not making use of the new stuff. I've heard the argument that it like doesn't sell, and while yeah, maybe that's the reason, I feel as though things like the defense drones were kind of designed to be made into toys and stuff. Like why isn't there a Revolution of the Daleks set where you could get Time War Daleks and defense drones like in a pack? That would be such an easy sell, because all the defense drones really are is a repaint of the Resolution Daleks. Why can't you? I just don't get why like they're so hesitant to do anything, like action figure wise. I get Chibnall doesn't like spoilers, but like Revolution's been out for what, 6 months? You're not going to spoil anyone who hasn't already seen it or want to see it at this point. You know, I'll keep coming back to it. Back in the RTD days, you'd get a figure pretty much when they would be seen on screen. And I know that, like, yes, Doctor Who's probably not at the popularity level it once was, but if you don't try, it's never going to get back to that point again. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you don't try and get it back to that point, it won't get back to that point. So, yeah, I really don't understand why they're not giving it their best effort. It does almost kind of feel like, to a certain extent, certain people are giving up, and that's kind of sad. But I just, as much as I'm glad, yes, we're getting another First Doctor set, because it's been a while apparently, and yes, I'm glad that, you know, we're getting another History of the Daleks, I do just kind of feel like, why aren't you doing the new stuff? And I'm not even the biggest fan of the new stuff, but like, you know, I wouldn't mind a Sacha Dhawan Master, I really like his Master. I wouldn't mind a Ruth Doctor. I wouldn't mind, as I said, the Daleks. I wouldn't mind the new Cyberman design, because I think they actually look pretty cool, although I could do without the spikes. If the default Cyberman design for the Chibnall era, side note, is just them without the spikes, and the spiked ones are just the Warrior variant, I think I'd be happy with that. But yeah, you know, there's certain things that like just seem made to be made into toys, and they just don't. It's really bizarre to me. Marketing, it's been 84 years since I've heard that word applied to Doctor Who. Yeah, but it's true, like, we don't get anything, and I know that I rant about this a lot, but that's because it genuinely pees me off how little we actually get. It's genuinely getting on my nerves now. It's like getting to, oh, there we go, my chat's loaded, I can get rid of that. It's genuinely getting on my nerves how little we get, and I know that people will say to me, you've got to be grateful, COVID times and all that, but look, at the end of the day, like, other franchises of this size get way more than we do. Like, and that's not me trying to be ungrateful, but it's genuinely just true. Yeah, I heard stuff about the Funko Pop giving up on Doctor Who, but weren't they recently just added to a mobile game? So I don't know whether I buy that they've completely just dropped the license. I really want more TARDIS playsets. I love the 10 one, only got it in 7, it's great. And the 11 is shit and needs a new one. I disagree, I liked the 11 one, had that one as a kid. But then again, wasn't a lot of it made out of cardboard and stuff? Not cardboard, plasticky sort of stuff. So you might be right. Yeah, maybe character do have money problems. But then that just leads me to think, why don't you just get a new manufacturer to do your figures? If they're struggling that much to get stuff out, why would you want to take the fall for them? You know what I mean? Like, if they're struggling, give someone else the license. Give it to, I don't know, I don't really know many toy brands. Give it to Mattel. Give it to, I don't know what any other figure brands. Actually, let's have a look, shall we? What are the like Hasbro, that's another one. Give it to Hasbro or Mattel or something like that. Someone who will actually be able to have the funds and the amount of resources to be able to do this property the justice it deserves in toy form. Like, it's just sad that we don't. No, the 11th Doctor's had a thing. It had, like, a frame. I mean, we are getting some new trading cards, so that's cool. We're getting some new trading cards, and I'm glad about that. Actually, we could probably talk about that. Where is that article? And they're not NFTs either, as in the online ones, so that is good. I'm glad of that, because I did like the cards growing up. I didn't really... I mean, I was given Battles in Time, but the ones I grew up with were the Monster Invasion ones. The best and most iconic planet is Clum, and Series 30 should take place there. Challenge me, Tharries. I agree. Big up Clum. I love Clum. Fisher Price, yeah, for some reason I don't think I'd be too keen on Fisher Price. But yeah, like, I just feel like we should be getting more. And this kind of ties in, actually. I did see if I can find it. By the way, if you haven't already, that was a great time to say, follow me on Twitter. I post things occasionally. Let me see if I can find... I did have it pinned at one point, or another, but it's probably been quite a while now. So, what I'll do, I'll scroll down a bit. Hopefully we find it relatively quickly. I basically ran a poll, and I want to discuss the results because they genuinely interested me. Not this one, the next one down. Alright, we're almost there, and in a bit, just a bit more. Why was it so long ago? I don't remember it being this long ago. Was it this long ago? Either that or I've just missed it. But hopefully not. Here we go. Alright, so here was the question I put out to Twitter. I want to ask a genuine question. Do you think Doctor Who, as a show and as a brand, is declining in popularity? Disregard your feelings toward the current era, or anything else, for that matter. I just want to know your honest opinion, because I'm genuinely interested. And that got almost 1,000 votes, which, side note, is a really big number, so thank you all to all of you who voted. But as you can see, the overwhelming majority, over 77% of people said, yeah. And that is genuinely kinda terrifying. Like, that should not be as high as it is. That should really not be as high as it is. And it does concern me. I can't lie, it does. I know that Doctor Who's safe, and I know Doctor Who has other funding from other places, but if a lot of the fan base think that their show's, lowering in popularity, that's not a good sign. That's not good, And I know that, people, leaving, people who leave, the fan base and leave YouTube are such a small part of the overall fan base, but, I don't think it's a good sign that, you have YouTubers leaving the community to do other things. I think that's actually proving that something is wrong, but that's my opinion. When Series 11 came out, my friends and most people at my high school were talking about it. Not only, now the only guy I know who's into it in my family is an NMD. Yeah, it's exactly what I mean. It's just, Series 11, I'll say this because it was true, it was really the golden opportunity for Doctor Who to regain its popularity and really have a new golden age of popularity, and they just didn't take advantage of it. They didn't use it to their advantage. They didn't capitalize. Well, I'm not saying they didn't capitalize. What I should say is they didn't make a series that was going to keep people wanting to watch. And that's the biggest thing. If you fail to make your first series captivate the audience and, get people interested, then you've got an issue. And, that's not going to be enough to effectively relaunch a franchise. If it doesn't, interest people, then people aren't going to come back. As simple as that, really. Without Big Finish, the brand over the majority of the year would have nothing. Exactly, but that's the thing. As much as people love Big Finish, and I appreciate what Big Finish does, it should not be the face of the brand. At the end of the day, it should be seen and treated as a piece of spin-off like media. That is what it should be considered as. That should be what it's thought of by the BBC as. It should not be the face of Doctor Who for the majority of the year. In the 60s, John Pertwee should be created with low-budget CGI. See, I find, like, even when, like, big companies do that, I find... Oh my god, the dog is gone balmy. Yeah, I find it really bizarre when even big companies recreate old dead actors with CGI. I can't help but feel it's like reanimating a corpse. It's just a bit weird. And yeah, I find it a little bit unnerving, so I'd rather they didn't do that, probably. Because even with big budgets, I think that looks really bad. I think Rogue One is the best example of that, where they bring back Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, with CGI, and it just looks really weird, really weird. Yeah, it would be awful, I agree. Yeah, Sean Pertwee, though, wouldn't be a bad choice. Big Finish is better than TV Who, to be honest. I see that opinion. I don't necessarily agree, because I'm going to be honest, I remember, for those of you who were there, I covered the Ninth Doctor, the first Ninth Doctor, the first part of the Ninth Doctor stories, and I'm going to be honest, I've not listened to any of them since. I think I just got a bit bored, in truth. And, like, that's the thing, like, you have to have, I think, a certain attention span for Big Finish, and if you don't, it's hard to properly get into. They don't sound like they do on the show itself. I agree. I do think that Chris Eccleston sounds off, and I know it's been 15 years, but he just doesn't sound right, and it is a bit hard to get your brain around that. But then again, none of them really do. Although I will be honest, with, I think, what other Doctors have I listened to? With the Sixth Doctor, I don't notice much of a difference. That's just me personally. But they recently released a trailer for one of the Fifth Doctor, 10th Doctor, Out of Time 2 crossover thing. And there I noticed a real difference between both the 10 and the 5th Doctor when compared to their television counterparts. So yeah, I definitely do see that argument that they don't sound the same. I adore Big Finish, but it's a completely different format to the show. I agree. Like, at the end of the day, as much as we, embrace Big Finish and people love Big Finish, Doctor Who's a TV show. That's like the bottom line, and it should be seen and treated as a TV show, but the majority of the year, you'd be forgiven for thinking they just did audios these days if you were an outsider, because that's all that ever gets promoted, and it is kind of sad, in my opinion. Let me just check, though, if there was, and I'll read some of the responses, actually. I feel like Jack Wolf, who's obviously a friend of the channel, said, "I feel it has the potential to be massive, but it completely wasted its most recent chance to grab an audience. I have the I stopped watching when Tennant left conversation way too many times. Great point." Yeah, Mr. TARDIS, another friend of the channel, yes, but I think it's relative. The show is still huge. During the Tennant weeks, it's still broadcasting every year and a half. I guess it charts. Did it chart in Series 12? Perhaps it did chart, but in Series 12's case, massive isn't quite the word I would use, but that's fair enough. The show is hardly doing anything to boost its profile when it's off the air, but Expanded Media is doing absolutely nuts right now to pick up the slack. That's true, but again, I feel like, in terms of a broader audience, if you're not going to be into the show, you're not going to be into the Expanded Media either. I feel like, to a certain extent, the spin-off media kind of relies on the show doing well, because if the show is not doing well, then it's not going to pull in any new audiences, and if it doesn't pull in any new audiences, the only people that the spin-off stuff is going to have to rely on is that existing customer base. But eventually, people move on, people are fickle, and they're not going to be able to rely on the same old people all the time. So they really need to have the show prosper in order for the Expanded Media to continue to prosper, if that makes sense. Because as well, obviously a lot of the older fans who buy Big Finish religiously and have the money to do so, they're not going to be around forever. And in the generations now like who maybe grew up during the Peter Capaldi / Whittaker days, where it was declining in popularity and perhaps they didn't get into it, are they really going to want to shell out money for Big Finish? I don't think they will. Like, and that's the concerning thing. I feel like the kid appeal is lost. So much talking and lack of interesting monsters. No kid spin-off, it's killing them. I agree. The reason I did that little short thing comparing the Sarah Jane Adventures to Series 11 was kind of to show you can do a kids thing without having to explicitly exposit everything to them. The kids aren't stupid. They pick it up. You don't need to literally say out loud what's going on. And that's what my point was behind that clip. A bit of an unpopular opinion, David Tennant Series 2 was the golden age. Do you mean in terms of quality or in terms of popularity? Because in terms of popularity, I'd probably say the end of the Tennant era, sort of Series 4, and then maybe again the 50th would be kind of... Because the 50th, I feel like there was just this general love for the show and this general sort of excitement around it turning 50 years old that just hasn't really happened since. I got into Big Finish because of how bad the show is doing at the moment, TBH. I get your point, but I see far more people getting into Big Finish than ever before. Yeah, that's fair enough, but I feel like if you weren't already into Doctor Who as a general premise, you're not going to want to listen to audios about it, if you know what I mean. But obviously in your case, you were into Doctor Who already, but you listened to Big Finish, whereas I'm saying for people who weren't already into Doctor Who and perhaps didn't have that exposure because it's not as popular, they're not going to want to pick up audios, if that makes sense. I'm 11, so the first episode I ever saw was Waters of Mars. Yeah, my brother showed me the light of the series before me, and that's how I got into it. Yeah, fair enough. And that's the thing, a lot of people get introduced by older family members and stuff, but if people grow up without Doctor Who being a massive thing, then they might not show it to their kids, Right now, Big Finish is propping up the show, but I want, it won't last long, as only the die-hard fans that can afford it buy it. Yeah, that's the problem. And people will say, well, you could listen to it on Spotify, but I'm like, yeah, but they deliberately make it cumbersome so you buy the audios. Sarah Jane Adventures is one of my favourite shows, defo on par with Who. Not excited for when Big Finish inevitably gets impressions on board to bring it back. I haven't even really thought about them doing Sarah Jane Adventures audios, but it's something that they probably will do. They'll probably get Liz Sladen's, I think it's daughter, to play her, which I wouldn't be that opposed to, I guess. But then again, I suppose, what's her name? The actress who plays Rani is still very involved in Doctor Who. She's married to Saoirse Dhawan. She played Skithra in Series 12. So I feel like she'd probably be up for it. I don't really know what Tommy Knight's done since it, to be honest. I haven't really seen him in anything. So maybe he'd do it. I don't know. Yeah, they've got, that's just what I was saying there. They've got Sarah Jane's daughter to do her voice. But yeah, it does kind of depress me, how the brand's been going. Let me just check my notifications, see if we've got any new news of any variety, or anything in particular. I'm excited. The more Daleks, the more better. Fair enough. I think some people do feel like that. Oh yeah, someone also said, could this be the time we finally get to see Davros again? And I wouldn't be opposed to seeing Davros again. I won't lie. I would be fine with him coming back. Although, I do wonder what they would do with him, but at the same time, I'd be down for it. It's not something that I'm craving, but I suppose the last time we did see him was Magician's Apprentice, which is familiar, and I've never been a big fan of that story. So, yeah, I'd be down for Davros. What do you guys think? I guess it's the perfect evolution of this Dalek trilogy concept that seems to be happening, where you have the first one, you have a Dalek reconstructing itself from old parts. The second, you have a new race of Daleks being created via human technology. So I suppose the next logical step would be to see the original creator of the Daleks, who can perhaps reconstruct a new Dalek Empire, it would come sort of full circle. So I wouldn't mind seeing him back for perhaps this special. I hope they get, what's his face? Is it Julian Bleach who does it? I hope they get him back, because I think Julian Bleach does a great job every time he is his Davros, and I really enjoy him as Davros. Although I think, to be honest, my favourite Davros is probably Terry Malloy. Like, I know Michael wishes the iconic one, but he only really had one performance, and I've listened to a couple of Terry Malloy's things on Big Finish, and he always kills it. So I think for me, actually, Terry Malloy is my favourite. But I do enjoy Julian Bleach. He was the first Davros I saw, so I do have that childhood nostalgia for his Davros. I don't know how old Julian Bleach is now, but it seems likely that he could come back. And obviously, a thing that would increase the chances of the Cybermasters coming back along with the Master would be that we've seen Nicholas Briggs on set, and anyone who knows that he does the Daleks, he also does the Cybermen. So yeah, highly likely that if he's already involved in doing one, then there's a chance that he could be just doing the other as well. Maybe not on set, because I remember when we did the podcast, he said that sometimes, a lot of the time, in fact, he'll just send the lines in for the Cybermen. But it would make sense if he was already involved in the series for him to do multiple villains, I guess. Will this be a special or part of Series 13? If I had to guess, because we haven't had confirmation, if I had to guess, I would say it's the special. I would say we'll have Series 13, it'll conclude, there'll be some sort of cliffhanger, say like the prison in Series 12, and then we'll get basically a gap, and then we'll get the special that New Year's, which I would say would be 13's Regeneration. This is what I think will happen. I think we'll get Series 13, she won't regenerate, but the special will contain her regeneration. So they can technically say that she broke the 3-series limit without her actually having to stay on for Series 14. That's what I think they'll do, but that's just me. Terry Malloy's great as Davros. I met him at Merseyside Comic Con, I got a signed picture. Oh, that's cool. I wouldn't mind meeting Terry Malloy, he seems like a really cool guy. I just really like Terry Malloy's Master. I probably agree that he's the definitive Davros. Maybe I will listen to Terra Firma. I really do enjoy Davros, which is the story that he's in, where he basically takes over a company. I really like that. It proves that Davros can completely work without any Dalek involvement, really. And it's just really good. I don't think that they just come back randomly. I feel like Chibnall, for all that we say about him, he's very dedicated to his plans and what he wants for the show. So I don't see him just making them come out in the series out of nowhere. I think it would be part of another special, but I do think that it's likely, and someone pointed out as well, that if they are filming the Dalek special, perhaps Regeneration filming could be taking place, or maybe it's taken place. We don't know. We still have no official confirmation on that, and the longer it goes on, I'm going to be honest, the longer I think it's probably true. That's just where I'm at with it. The longer they deny commenting on it, the longer I think, yeah, something's probably going on here, because if they really wanted to, they could have dispelled those rumours immediately. If it was definitely not happening, they could have quickly dispelled it. But I think they know as well as we do that it's probably happening, and therefore, rather than saying definitely that it is happening, they're trying to hold it off and maintain people's suspense by saying, oh, we'll decline to comment. So yeah, that's what I think's going on there. I think that the New Year's will be her regeneration. Where the show will go from there, I don't know. Presumably Chibnall will stay on. However, I think, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I think Series 13 is going to be telling for Doctor Who as a franchise and as just a thing in general, because if Series 13 underperforms, as in gets, let's say 2 to 3 million per episode, I feel like some course correction is going to have to be done, because we've seen that the BBC isn't opposed to axing shows with similar viewing figures as that, as is proven by Holby City. And Holby City has a much smaller budget than Doctor Who. And yes, I know you could say that, Doctor Who, Holby City rather, doesn't have the merchandising pull that Doctor Who does. But then equally, the merchandising pool hasn't been great recently. So I think that if Series 13 underperforms, which I think it might, because they don't seem to really be fixing the marketing issues, then I feel as though some serious course correction is going to have to be made, because otherwise it's going to be a bit of an issue going forward, I think. I've heard, I think this is from John Barrowman's Instagram, that Revolution of the Daleks is in the running to become one of the potential best nominations for the best TV movie Emmy. Is it really a TV movie? It's just a longer episode of a TV show. I mean, I guess you could call that a TV movie, but I don't know. It's just, I think that's a bit of a cop-out, but yeah, fair enough. Doctor and Davros teaming up for a story would be interesting. That's basically what Davros on Big Finish is. It's basically they're sort of forced to work together on this technology for this company. But obviously, yeah, no, Davros ends up betraying them because he's Davros. But that's kind of what Davros is to a certain extent. I'm wondering if they are going to be doing a Weeping Angels, how they began episode. I think they will tie it into the Time Lords. I reckon that people are on the money there. They're going to reveal that they were part of the Time Lord's origin somehow, and they'll tie into the Timeless Child thing. I think that's going to be something that happens. The merchandise is just 10. You could do that without the main show. Wait, what do you mean now the merchandise is just 10? How do you mean? 71 minutes is not a movie. Yeah, I agree. But then again, how long's the TV movie in length? Hang on, that's in the Doctor Who TV movie. I'll see you, King Creator. Thanks for stopping by. The stream will be up for replay as soon as it ends. So if you missed anything, obviously you can rewatch it there. Super hyped for the latest series of Doctor Who Loki 2022. You know what? Loki, I'm really looking forward to. It might fill the gap that Doctor Who does in my heart, because it's a time travel show. It's in the MCU as well. I like the MCU. It could well fill the gap for me. I hope it does. When do you think we'll get a teaser trailer? Teaser/trailer, I should say. I think the earliest we will get anything would be Comic-Con this year, but I've got a feeling that they won't do Comic-Con, and I think they may be doing the same thing that they did last year, where they're going to wait till a few weeks before it airs, which is a really bad idea, but it just seems to me like what they're going to do. If they do something at Comic-Con, great. So basically, my optimistic answer is Comic-Con, they'll give us a teaser, but my realistic answer is they're going to leave it as long as possible before giving us anything. So yeah, I hope that answers your question. See you, Nathan, man. Thanks for stopping by. As in the 10th Doctor, yeah. I guess they can continue to milk the 10th Doctor whether the show's on or not, to be fair. So that's valid. Yeah, that's the thing. I think they're going to wait till like 2 weeks before the series. But that doesn't... This is what annoys me. Like, I think if Series 12 proved anything, it proves that waiting that long to promote it just doesn't work. It doesn't bode well if you wait that long to start promoting things. It just doesn't work. I don't get why they keep insisting on doing that, because it just doesn't work. I think that the Weeping Angels might be failed experiments by Omega when discovering time travel instead of them just being dead Time Lords. That's an interesting idea. Maybe they're like the scientists who were working on time travel, and maybe they got disfigured by it and became Weeping Angels. That's a really cool concept, actually. I wouldn't mind that being the case. Why doesn't Chibnall like marketing? I know. It's almost like, do you remember when we talked about that clip that John Bishop did? It's almost like he had to sneakily film that because Chibnall wouldn't let him film anything. You know, it's just... In David Tennant's last episode, some Time Lords wear face cover like the Weeping Angels. Yeah, I do feel like there is some tie to the Weeping Angels and the Time Lords. It's just what that tie is, we don't know. Is this going to be Jodie's last series? We don't know for definite, but my probable answer would be yes, given things like the Mirror article coming from a very reliable source that's gotten numerous things about the show right, including Bradley Walsh and Tosin Cole's departure. So I think what I think, and I sort of said a bit earlier in the stream, is that Series 13 will be her last series, but she'll have the one special with these Daleks that have now been seen, and that'll be her final story. So I hope that clears up that. Don't you think that Sherlock would make a great Doctor? As in Benedict Cumberbatch? I think he's too big, honestly, these days to take on Doctor Who. But I wouldn't be opposed to it, but obviously now he's in the MCU, and now I doubt that he would come on. Can they not explain the Weeping Angels? The mystery is their strength. I do sort of agree, but then equally, I do like the fan theory that they're dead Time Lords, and I do like the theory that who came up with it, actually? Let me just scroll up. That Mr. Scarlo came up with as well. So I agree to a certain extent, but also I really like some of the concepts that have been thrown around. If Joe Martin isn't the 14th Doctor, we riot. Yeah, I'm going to be honest, if Chibnall is staying on, the best outcome for me is that she's 14. If Chibnall isn't staying on, though, to be honest, I think I'd probably want a clean slate, because I feel as though we need it. But if Chibnall is staying on, for me, the best outcome would be Joe Martin as the Doctor. How do you feel about Richard Ayoade being the next Doctor? I kind of just feel like he's a basic choice. I know that like a lot of people want to see him as the role, and fair enough. I'm not going to take that away from you. But to me, he kind of just seems like the most default sort of Doctor like choice you could have. And I kind of want someone a bit more out there, but at the same time a big enough name. Because here's the thing, I feel like whoever the next Doctor is going to be needs that sort of star quality that already means that people are going to tune in just to watch them. We really don't need an unknown right now. We need someone who is going to definitively not only bring in new audiences, but also satisfy the current audience that exists. What I'm saying is we need kind of a safe choice, or as safe as you can get. And you can argue there really is no safe choice, because wherever you go, whatever you choose in terms of the 14th Doctor, someone will not be happy with it. But I feel as though maybe, I don't know who they could even choose. I wouldn't want to be in their position when casting 14, because they're going to be wrong no matter what. Thing is, Jo Martin did know about sonic screwdrivers though, but she says like, ask that little gizmo of yours, and she goes, sonic screwdriver, and she goes, that's the one. So I think she does know about them, she just doesn't have one herself, I feel like. That's how I read that scene anyway, on rewatch. But if anyone disagrees, then fair enough. I personally think that Jodie will leave midway during Series 14, with Mandip leaving at the end of the series. Possibly. But then again, like, I do feel like I feel like Mandip's definitely got to leave this series, because no companion's ever done 4. That's like an absurd amount. And I gotta be honest, like, if they don't develop her much in Series 13, I kind of just wanted to leave at this point. Strike 1, 3 strikes and you're out, kind of thing. If they're not going to do anything with her in this series, just get rid of her at this point. You've got to admit that you've wasted a character and an actor, and just sort of move on at that stage. Oh, sorry, I missed your comment. Let me read that quick. In 2023, do you think the BBC is going to remaster Scream of the Shalka? I'd love for it to be the case, but I don't know. I don't really know how a remaster of Scream of the Shalka could work, because it was designed specifically with the intention of being played on, like, Flash. So I think it would have to be entirely reanimated in order for them to do that. But yeah, interesting thought. Jo Martin is better as a mystery. I do see that, but I think a lot of the people, myself included, who call for her to be the 14th Doctor, basically just comes out of, she was really good in Fugitive of June, and we want to see more of her. Because I'm going to be honest, I prefer her to 13, straight up. I think instead of Omega doing it, it should be Rassilon, as Omega did time travel, but with Rassilon, he's meant to have done regeneration. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Like, a lot of the leaks that we've talked about on this channel, yeah, I know that dreaded word, like, have featured Rassilon, and I feel like Rassilon may well be included in Series 13 in some capacity. There's a rumour that 13 will regenerate, and there will be a split, like, yeah, there'll be 2 Doctors, so split regeneration, yeah, that's another thing that we've spoken about, and I don't really know how to feel about that. Like, I think, though, if they were to do that, like, that would maybe happen, like, midway through Series 13, and they would resolve it by the end of Series 13, I feel like. I don't feel like that would be the new status quo, having 2 Doctors just permanently knocking about, that we follow in individual episodes as one part of one major series, because I feel like that's going to really alienate casual viewers if you've got 2 Doctors running around in the same series that have to share, like, series with each other. So yeah, I don't feel like that'll be a status quo, but I can see that being a story arc for Series 13, if that rumour is true. Richard Ayoade is the 14th Doctor. Richard E. Grant as the 14th Doctor. I'd love to see Richard E. Grant do the Doctor again, but I think he's too old for it now, surely. What is he like? He's got to be 60 odd, 50, 60 odd? And I know that Capaldi was 50, but like, I don't know, I feel like he's too... Hang on, let's have a look how old he is. Richard E. Grant. He's 64. Yeah, I feel like he's too old, to be honest. But yeah, I can see why people want him, but I feel like he's too old. Michael Sheen, I'd love. As a fellow Welshman as well, I'd love for a Welshman to play the role. But I doubt he'll take it, because he seems like a bit of a too obvious choice. Did you beat the shid out of Confused Adipose? I won't say, because obviously I filmed content. But obviously, if you guys don't know, we met up recently. I'll see if I can put the picture up on screen. By the way, that community post about it actually almost got to 100 likes. So if you could, I think that might be the first one. If it gets to it, they'll have reached 100 likes. Zinko can confirm this. I think if that one gets to 100 likes, it'll be the first one to ever do so. So if you guys could do me a favor, just go over to your community post. And give this community post a like. We're 4 likes away from 100 likes. Give it a like. That would be fan-flippin-tastic. Because I think that's the first time we'd have ever done that. And I love hitting milestones on this channel. So if you haven't done that, go do it. But yeah. Just have him in the 60th with no explanation. Just as a future Doctor like the curator. Oh, as in Richard E. Grant. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Let's just bring Tennant back. See, I feel like they've had that same mentality for like the last 5 years, though, with the amount that he's been in like spin-offs and stuff, as in like Big Finish and the game and all that. Speaking of which, do we know anything about the game? Like, that's a genuine question, because like it was meant to be coming out in like the summer, and we just sort of never heard anything about it. So yeah, I do wonder what's going on there. I'd love to see a return of something like Doctor Who Confidential to accompany each episode again, especially given Series 13 is going to be a shorter series. Yeah, I agree. It's like, we need more behind-the-scenes content. We need more stuff like that. I completely agree. Weirdly, I'd love to see Joe Wilkinson as the 40th Doctor. I don't really know much about Joe Wilkinson, but maybe. But I think... see you, Mr. Scarlo. Thanks for tuning in. I think I'm going to actually head off, actually. But thank you so much for coming in. If you did enjoy, be sure to give the stream a like before we sign off. That'd be really appreciated. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later. New videos coming soon. I've only just got back yesterday, so yeah, but there'll be new videos coming very soon. What editor do I use? Sony Vegas Pro. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Oh, also, Dalek things. Yes, Daleks coming back. There we go. I've tied it into the main theme of the stream. Bye!